Hi everyone, it's Kimber, the study abroad specialist here. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about the common types of study abroad programs. So this is a question that I get asked quite a bit from students that I consult with, or any student who is reaching out to me who's interested in finding a study abroad program that works for them. They want to know what their options are. So we're going to talk about the common types of study abroad programs. So today we're going to start with institutionalized, and then I will create this into a series for the next two videos where we get into the other two common types of study abroad programs. So let's start with institutionalized study abroad programs. So when thinking about institutionalized, that word in particular, it can either have a positive connotation or sometimes a negative connotation. But basically what that means is it is any type of program that is connected with your high school, your college, or your university. So if you are currently enrolled somewhere and they have a study abroad program as part of your school, that is an institutionalized study abroad program. A lot of times it is called affiliated programming. So you may see it as affiliated study abroad programs, but it's basically the same thing. The institutionalized is what I coin it, but it's all the same thing. So there are definitely some advantages to these programs, and then there's some disadvantages as well that you need to consider when you want to enroll in an institutionalized program. So in thinking about the advantages for enrolling in an institutionalized study abroad program, there are definitely some great ones. So I would say the very first one is the fact that you're going to have seamless enrollment. So most of the time, these are built into the course catalog online, or if you have to register manually, your course leader or your advisor at your school is going to know how to do this. So it's going to be seamless enrollment. So you're basically still going to be a part of your school. You're just branching off to do the study abroad program. So that is a really good thing because it means that you're not going to have to do something where you're going to need to re-register or reapply or pay an application fee, things like that you would have to do in other types of study abroad programs that we will talk about in the next videos coming up. You won't have to worry about that because you're already a student at that institution. So that is definitely the top advantage. I would say that the second advantage is that for most institutionalized study abroad programs, you're going to have the opportunity to use whatever financial aid or scholarships that you are currently using at your high school. If you're going to a private school or your college or your university, you're going to have the chance to potentially apply that financial aid towards your trip. So that is also a very good thing. Now, there are some instances where it may be a case where you may not be eligible, especially let's say if you're in a college or a university and you are using federal student loans and you may be trying to study in a place where the US does not have a good relationship with that particular country. There are some instances like that. So you definitely want to do more research into that for your situation. But for the most part, no matter where you're coming from, you should be able to apply some level of scholarship or financial aid if that's going to be relevant to you. And following on from that, I would say that number 3 is the fact that the cost is going to be comparable to what you pay. So sometimes for the institutionalized study abroad programs, it will be built into the tuition. So there are some schools that require students to study abroad, but even if they don't, they will just make it so that it is a fee that is built in. Let's say you're doing it for your junior spring semester, which is very common for students, especially here in the US, then they can just build that in as an extra fee, but it just looks like it's part of your tuition. It's not anything that is too extravagant. So it's very cost comparable to what you would be paying to have a regular semester throughout the year on campus at school. So that is also a good thing too, because it means that you won't have to worry about a lot of extra costs that you weren't thinking about. And then I would say number 4, in terms of advantages for these types of programs, is that most of the hard work is figured out for you. So the majority of the time, I would say 9 out of 10 times, schools are going to work with students to sort of figure out all the little pieces that they're going to need to succeed while they are abroad. So whether it is figuring out what visa you're going to need, most of the time schools have deals that they work out through different treaties in different countries where they can apply for mass visas for students as long as they have secured the background checks and everything. And if you're already enrolled in a private institution, or if you're in a college or a university, it doesn't matter whether it's, private or public, but you're in an institution, you've been sort of verified, right? So they can basically, like they're able to apply for all of those things for you. Also, too, a lot of times when you start applying for institutionalized study abroad programs and you attend those, they will have set housing for you. They often have set meal plans in place. There's a lot of things that they have already structured for you. So if you are someone who you like that type of structure and you love the fact that everything is going to kind of be handled for you up front, then institutionalized study abroad programs are going to be the best fit. And I would highly recommend them. It's not the route that I chose to do, but I do think that there is a time and place for it. I would also say that another advantage would be that you're going to be studying with people from your school, right? So for a lot of students, that is very important to them. Whether they know the kids that they're studying abroad with, whether you're going to be studying with a friend or whether you're going to be going by yourself, if you at least know people that you can connect with, and then you have a chance to see them again once you get back on campus for your next semester, then that is a great way to build those relationships and connect with people. And similarly, a lot of the times the teachers who teach these study abroad programs, they may be coming from your school, or they may just be people who, have been hired by the school, but they've taught with the school for a long time. They live in these other countries. And so it's a great way to build up your network throughout your school on an international level. So definitely consider that if that is important to you. So, in thinking about the disadvantages, I would say that I have three things that I would like to mention. So, number one is definitely that for most institutionalized study abroad programs, they are very much set in their ways. So, it's kind of a double edged sword, right? Because you're going to have something where everything is kind of planned out for you, everything is already really structured. But coming along with that, most of the schools, whether it be high schools for private schools, or public schools if you are in the UK or somewhere, or if it is a college or a university, they've been doing this for a very long time. And so they kind of have what I like to call like a rhythm of how things are going to work with it. So they are not very flexible in how they're going to be running their program. So it's like, this is the way that it works. This is how it's been working for the past 30 years. This is how you sign up. This is what you do. This is where you live. So for some students, that really works well because, again, depending on what your study abroad goals are, maybe you really like that structure. And depending on what courses they're offering, that may work very well for you. But there are some students like me who we were seeking things that were a little bit more flexible and had a little bit more opportunity to explore different routes. So that's why I chose not to study with my university. But I definitely see the argument for doing that because the advantages in many ways outweigh the disadvantages. I would say that number two for the disadvantages are that it's often a limited course selection, right? So kind of leading on from my first point in the fact that they are set in their ways is that most of these universities and these colleges and schools, they have a certain different courses that they are going to be offering because it feeds directly into your course credit. So that's sort of a disadvantage because let's say that you are a student and you're going to study in Germany and you really want to learn German, but maybe your school doesn't have a course offering for German because that's not a part of their curriculum. They're not offering credit for that. That can be a problem within itself because it's not helping you to be able to immerse yourself in the culture. But again, you're able to still go to Germany and get a chance to take these other courses that they may be offering that are related closer to your major and that you're going to get credit for. So you just need to sort of think of what is going to be important to you. Now, of course, there are other opportunities to be able to immerse yourself if you're in one of these programs and you feel like you're not getting enough, but you just want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your money. So that's another thing to consider. And then the other thing too is that I would say that they are pretty inflexible in how they're offered. So the way that it is structured for an institutionalized study abroad program means that it often directly relates to what level of study you're at. So again, here in the US, it is most common for students to study abroad their junior year spring semester. I did that, but I also studied abroad my junior year fall semester. So I did it a little bit different, but again, I wasn't doing one of the institutionalized programs. But it really just depends on how it is. And when you're doing it through an institution, it may be where they're blocking you from doing it. Let's say you want to do it freshman year, particularly for colleges and universities, depending on what country you're in and where you're coming from, you may not be eligible to do that. Whereas if you did it with an independent program or on your own where you designed it, you could figure out how you want to do that. So, and we will talk about those other programs in subsequent videos, but just consider that there may be a smaller time frame for when you can actually study abroad if you are doing institutionalized programs. So those are definitely some disadvantages, but like I said before, I do feel like the advantages for the right type of student outweigh those disadvantages. If it's something that you really want to do, you really want to be able to connect more with your school community internationally, then I definitely think that it's worth doing. So if you are interested in learning more about institutionalized study abroad programs, and also maybe skipping ahead and learning about the other types of study abroad programs that I'm going to talk about in other videos, click down to the description box and download my free e-guide, Finding Your Perfect Study Abroad Program. This is an e-guide that I put together about a year ago now, just based on all the different questions that students would ask me about how they find their perfect study abroad program. Now, admittedly, it is a little bit tongue in cheek because there's no perfect study abroad program, but it's definitely about finding what works best for you. Because again, as I've stated before, the institutionalized affiliated programs were not the best for me and my personality type. But I would never want to discourage students from doing that if that will work for them, particularly if they have a very close connection with their school and they want to build up those relationships, and their goal is to make sure that they can earn credit directly for whatever major they're in while studying abroad and getting that experience. It definitely is worth it. So go ahead and click into the description box down there, download the e-guide. It is printable, it's free, and it also comes with a fun quiz at the end to kind of just put you on that right track and make sure that you're kind of figuring out which one works best for you. So click that, and also share it with other people who you know may be interested in wanting to study abroad. All right, so that is the end of the video. So I hope that this was helpful for you. I know that a lot of times I was the same when I first got started about 12 years ago now. But when you go to Google or something and you type in study abroad programs, a lot of information pops back at you, but either it doesn't make sense, it's not relevant to you, or people are not giving you clear instruction. And that is basically where I come in. The entire reason why I created my business and why I started consulting study abroad students was to help them be able to navigate this process in basic terms that make sense for them, because I want you to be able to experience what I had, where you can actually find programs that work good for you and you're able to apply them so that you can get the most out of your time abroad. So in the next two videos that I will be filming very soon, we're going to talk about the other two types of common study abroad programs. So those are independent programs and then self-appointed programs. So I will talk more about those in these upcoming videos. And then, hopefully by then you would have looked at this video and you would have started with the e-guide. And so I'm looking forward to sharing that with you soon. Until next time, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already downloaded the e-guide, get started with that, and share this video with someone else who may be interested in study abroad. And we will see you very soon.